Hi, I am Raymond Janis, geologist, Chilean geologist. I am CEO of ATEX Resources Inc., a company, exploration company formed in 2019, and I joined as CEO in June of 2020. So I'm just under 2 years. The focus of the company is definitely exploration right now in Chile, mainly copper and gold. And our flagship is the Valeriano project with a porphyry copper in a new belt. So that's kind of
That's a good start. Raymond, lovely to meet you. We've not met you. I've not spoken to you before. There's a new story to us. I'm excited, especially because it's got a copper in there. And you're in Chile, the right postcode. So let's start off with a little bit of background. So can you tell me a little bit about you and what you've done that's relevant to this project?
Okay, I'm a Chilean geologist. I studied geology at the University of Chile. And after 10 years, I decided to go out with 4 kids already to do a PhD that I did at Harvard University. That was kind of tough with 4 kids and studying. So that was an interesting moment. And after that, at that time, I was mainly a mine geologist at El Indio deposit and had been a mine geologist both in Nicaragua and Honduras. That's where I started my career. So once I did about almost 10 years at El Indio, took off to do my PhD. When I came back, I started working on exploration area under LAC Minerals prior to being bought out by Barrick. And we did all the discovery of Pascua Lama in that area. And after that, I joined Metallica Resources after I quit Barrick and worked with Craig Nelson, who's the chairman of the board of ATEX, and we developed their La Fortuna copper. We didn't develop, we discovered La Fortuna porphyry in Chile, actually. After that, Bre-X came in. I went into consulting for a while and worked with discoveries in Peru. And after that, I came back with Craig again into Gold Fields, and as head of South American and Latin American exploration for Gold Fields. And we did a deal in Cerro Corona. I acquired it for Gold Fields, and we started the program that found Salares Norte, actually. So that, when I came there, after that, I joined Hochschild Mining of Peru, was there for a couple of years, and after that came back to Chile and started working with a family office on a project that was called Joanna, where we had another porphyry discovery very close to Vallenar in Chile. So I've been acquainted with quite a bit of discoveries. And through my good friend Albert Schneider and Carl Hansen, we started talking, and they invited me to join as CEO of ATEX Resources. So that's kind of my history. And I do have a history with the flagship Valeriano project, because when I was during my Hochschild times, we decided to grow the company and looking for a company maker. We defined company maker, just one deposit that could produce at least what we're producing in all the mines in Hochschild. And I chose the Valeriano project as that potential target. So I made a deal before leaving Hochschild on this property. However, I did not advance this because I left there. And they did the first drill holes that discovered the porphyry in depth. So that's come back. So I do have a bit of back history, and I also went to visit it during my LAC time. So there's a long time that I know that history of all that El Indio belt, because this is in the northern extreme of the El Indio belt, just north of Pascua Lama.
Okay, so you've got a long history of success in Chile. You've got a history of Valeriano itself. So that's really interesting, actually. So tell me, what exactly, when you spoke with Craig initially and Albert and Carl subsequently, what is it? What's the task they've set you with? What have they asked you to do?
Well, when we took off here, Nathan and I came in, we were kind of lacking funds. And we decided, how can we strategize to make this grow? And we started with a first strategy that hadn't been looked at during the Hochschild time on a small gold resource that occurs at surface down to about 100 meters. So we focused on that, and there was a lot of history of drilling previous to us coming in, about 27,000 meters of drilling. A lot more, about half of it reverse circulation and very shallow, looking at this deposit. So we went and hired SRK to make a resource both on that oxide copper near surface and the deeper porphyry. At that time, copper was not the boom, and we started showing these resources to try to raise funds, and everybody got interested in the gold side of it and not in the copper. So we raised about 3 million Canadian at that time, exclusively to drill the project on the gold side, which we did end of 2020, beginning of 2021, really, 2021, the drilling. Unfortunately, we had a bit of problems with our rig. We didn't drill enough holes as we wanted to because it broke down and winter came. So we didn't complete the program. We had 3,000 meters to prove that up because the resource was only on an inferred category, given that the pre-existing drilling, we had the assays, but not the QA/QC of that assays. So we did some infill holes, but we also did twin holes to prove that that was correct. And basically we proved that it was correct, but we didn't add much resource to it, but did find a new area of interest of gold that we call the gray banded vein zone, the GBV zone. But the last hole before the rig broke down was in that area. It came into the gold zone, but it finished in ore, and we never followed that. So it just came up with a resource that's about 600,000 ounces with just under 0.6 grams per ton gold. So it's not significant. We knew about the porphyry, where Hochschild drilled 16 holes, of which 3 cut the porphyry system, 2 with porphyries in it, and 1 on the wall rock, number 9. 14, the best hole, gave over 1,100 meters with 0.73% copper equivalent. So that was, we used those 3 drill holes in the few that cut it barely and came out with a resource close to 300 million tons with 0.77 copper equivalent. So when you look at this, it's along a section that those 3 drill holes were, and there's now knowledge along its extension. So copper started picking up. We started selling this story back again through our copper side. Again, we were without funds. And we started promoting it to different people, and we were fortunately that we spoke with Pierre Lassonde, who's Craig's friend and my friend from our Metallica time, our Metallica Resources time, which, although he was not interested in exploration plays, he found really interesting that there was 3 drill holes, each one about 1,000 meters, each one above, 0.5, well, one was 0.56, other one about 0.64% copper equivalent. So these 3 holes, and there was no follow-up. And given the time right now, it really got him excited, and a few other important investors that came in, and we raised 8 million Canadian dollars. And that is the money we have now, and we're doing the exploration, deep drilling. We're actually presently drilling 2 holes and are going to commence one in the next couple of days.
So tell me about this. You raised $8.5 million, and Pierre Lassonde's come in. Everyone, recognized the name, not necessarily the detail attached to that. And you brought on Alejandra Wood as well. So you're kind of beefing things up to an already kind of blue chip team here, but the starting point is quite low, as you say. It's always been cash constrained. But you do have this historic data. So do you mind if we just talk about that a second? Because you talked about, I think it's 26, nearly 27,000 meters of historic drill hole data. You relogged it. And how did that inform how you moved Oh, so where you went with the drill bit and where you will continue to go with the drill bit now you've got this capital. What did it tell you?
Well, when we came in, the first thing we did was that resource. In parallel, we started relogging, as you say. This was drilled out in the late 90s by Phelps Dodge first, looking for copper, and found a bit of gold, and followed by Barrick in the end of the 90s. They didn't find a significant gold deposit and pushed off. This was picked up, as I told you, by Hochschild in the 2011, and started drilling with discoveries on 2013 and 2014 on the porphyry side. So there's quite a bit of data. And so we started looking at this again and really trying to understand what was there to try to build our model up. And we were fortunate that a geologist that had been involved with the El Encierro project, which is immediate to Valeriano, just north of us, which is owned by Antofagasta with Barrick. It's a 51-49 joint venture. He came and helped us in the logging process. So he started seeing things that he compared to what he had seen at El Encierro. And we started, together with what we were looking at and understanding, building a model on this. And every time, and I always say, this project, when I joined ATEX, it was a tough project, how to sell it, because it was already known and everybody discussed it was too deep or lower grade. But really, as we advanced in our knowledge, it started to grow in me. Many projects, they start decreasing interest during time. This was just started to grow and grow more and more interest. And we really understood that this could be a major deposit that together with El Encierro is going to be a significant district in the future.
Right, so explain that. That's the bit I'm trying to get to, because there's been some history to this. It hasn't really moved forwards as an asset, and you didn't have the success you wanted when chasing the gold, and obviously in a kind of very positive copper environment, things change at the right price, everything changes. But so what did you learn? Because that's really interesting to me. What did you learn from this relogging process when you got this outsider looking in and going, well, actually, this is what it means. It may be, deep and it may be low grade, but this is how you make it work. So what was this is how you make it work insight that made you go, I think we're onto something here?
I say the porphyry may be deep, but it's not low grade. That's important, and the thing that I would believe will make it work is the grade and the size. With what we have with those 300 million tons with about 0.77 in an inferred resource level, will grow significantly. And we believe that the grade will hold or increase. And what's very interesting of this project is that the porphyries, that when you cut the porphyry system, it has a very high grade. We have 5 different porphyries that we call VP1 to VP5, doesn't matter, from oldest to youngest, very similar in time. And VP1 is the richest and has more than 1% copper equivalent. And the VP2 has between 0.75 and 1%. So we're ground drilling after that, okay? We're looking at the high grade because we believe that with that type of grade, and underground will work. Additionally, we're on the high part of the hill. We're at 4,100 meter elevation, approximately just under 4,100 drilling down. And the valley goes down to 3,600 meters. So you can access from surface through tunnels right into the system. So there's 2 valleys. It's a hill and there's 2 deep valleys on each side. So you can access from any of the 2 valleys. So underground won't be a problem. It's not like you're gonna really sink a lot. You can go almost horizontal into it. That's one side on the future. But the thing is, we believe it's going to be a high grade system. I don't know. Unfortunately, I don't know what El Encierro has. Everything I've heard is from words of third people, so I'm not going to go into that. but they seem to be in the similar grades that we're talking. Okay. And maybe more. I don't know their, but I think that between what they have and we have, it's going to be a significant and large district. What is a big difference between this district and others in Chile? That this is hosted mainly on rhyolitic rocks. The host rock is rhyolitic. And everybody thought that the andesite hosted porphyries are the best. And everybody, when they talked about rhyolite, kind of pushed back. And I think what happens when you go into rhyolite, that you don't have such a reactive rock, that the fluids, the mineralizing fluids will react and drop it into the wall rock. So a lot of the mineralization stays very close to the porphyries and doesn't disseminate so much out. So I think that holds into the grade. And when you look at similar deposits like Filo del Sol, which is along the same belt between El Indio and Maricunga belt, they've had some tremendous holes lately, which they've noticed that is in the high sulfidation type mineralization within the porphyry system. These are complicated words. What happens is that during the porphyry evolution, okay, you get the deeper chalcopyrite bornite type copper mineralization. And towards the upper part of the deposit, you can get what they call high sulfidation. That's normally chalcocite, covellite, bornite, which are richer, and it can have enargite, it can have arsenic-bearing minerals too. And that occurs in the upper part. And the best grades are in that type of cutting that type of mineralization. And we've cut 2 holes that was a map like that on high sulfidation mineralization previously on hole 14 and 16. So that excited us too, because it was closer to surface. And from what we were saying, maybe we have something closer to surface as well as we have deep. Now, as it only has 3 holes along one section, we have no idea on how it extends. So our program basically is very simple. We took the best hole, that's to hole 14, and we're drilling holes to the northeast. We think everything kind of goes north and northeasterly. 200 meters to the north, another one 200 meters to the south. And we just completed an MT geophysical survey that shows that there's a lot of potential even further south, given that it's a very non-resistive or conductive rock, together with a chargeability pre-existing. We're putting another hole that's going to be even 400 meters south of that 14. So we're going to have a good idea on how this high grade looks.
Okay, so let's put it in simple terms that people can understand, which is you've raised some money, you're going to do some drilling. You've got how many drill rigs? What kind of drill program have you got laid out in terms of, I guess, meters, so that they can get a sense of what's going to be coming through, or what the expectation is for assays to come through, so that they can judge how you're, developing this project. So start with that.
Okay, so when you think that the 3 drill holes that were drilled originally are along a section, means you're looking at one cut of this porphyry system. So we don't know how it goes, let's say, to the north, and we don't know how it goes to the south. We know that there's mineralization down there in depth. So basically our program is, well, let's look what happens north and south of this high grade and see what extension this high grade has. So we designed a program that's going to do about 6,000 meters. Each drill hole, there's 3 drill holes that are going to go down to 2,000 meters, hopefully that we reach our objective of 2,000 meters. Looks like we will. And we're programming it just along potential strike of this system, of the high grade system. So we're going to expand our high grade zone. And with that, we're going to have a good idea of what this looks like.
Okay.
And if this...
Okay, so the other thing that's kind of important to people is some kind of, you've dropped a few names in there, and in terms of other companies and the way that they've approached it. You've dropped a few other formations which highly prolific as well. So As a small business, you're whatever, 40 million market cap. You've raised, $8.5 million just for Christmas. You've got to be very efficient with the way you communicate, the way you do things, and the way that you communicate those things to the marketplace. 3 holes, 2,000 meters each. Your expectation is you're going to hit more of this high grade going forward, and then you're going to have to sort of lay out what your drill program is going forward. So, give us a sense of what do 3 holes cost? What do those 3 holes cost? And how much will you be left with? And will you need to go out to market again to raise more money later in the year?
Just the drilling cost of each hole would be over $1 million each, American.
Got
US.
it.
Okay. I'm not counting our camp that we had to mobilize a whole camp. We're under COVID conditions, so you have to keep people very contained, 2 by container, only sleeping, making sure that all the things are correct on the COVID standards. We have our lunch area or our how do you call it?
Canteen.
Our dining area.
Canteen. Yeah.
Yeah. Our canteen, where you've got spaces that you eat individually and separated from others, just assuring these COVID conditions that are asked by the Chilean government and all. So this is very strict control. Fortunately, we haven't had to date, touch wood, any COVID effect on it. So it costs tremendously more than normal on the campsite. But additionally, drilling is quite expensive when you go deep, and we're in the high Andes. Remember, we're very close to the border with Argentina. Okay, we're in north central Chile, so this is about the main town is called Vallenar, which is about 650 kilometers north of Santiago, and then we go to the east, southeast of there, another 130 kilometers. But so it's all complicated as logistically. So the costs are very high. So our total 3 holes are going to cost us about what we raised.
Right. Okay. But on an ongoing basis, if you were to raise capital, if the comparable drill hole for 2,000 meter would be about $1 million. That's the kind of number we're looking at.
Just the drilling. We're not talking all the other expenses, which is about another, good amount.
Right.
It's another $1 million.
So let's look at it, because we've interviewed a fefew sort of Chilean gold copper stories, copper gold stories, whatever the market's doing since to change the narrative slightly. But you're up at between 3,000 and 4,000 meters. That sort of altitude. So there's a little bit incremental cost in terms of getting water up there, getting supplies up there, having a camp up there, and being, COVID, matching COVID restrictions there. So the costs are what they are. How do you, though, because I think the important bit for you guys is, because it's like 3 holes, they need to hit, and they need to do more of the same in terms of this copper equivalent number, which you're putting out around this point. It looks like sort of on average about 0.6 on average across the data that you put in the PowerPoint. So if you do more of that, do you think that is enough to give the market an idea of what you've got? Because the other component here is you got it. The grade is great. Copper equivalent is great. You need to then start moving towards showing scale of the opportunity ahead. So how do you go about doing that off the back of the 3 holes? And then what would you be telling the market going forward about how you're going to come at the project, or how you'd like to approach the project?
Perfect. Well, let's think porphyry size, right? We really see this as at least 1 billion tons, at least, with significant grade. And just our resource on copper equivalent is about 0.77, so it's a bit higher. And that's the type of grade or higher that we'd be looking for. Additionally, for you to have an idea, about 2/3 is copper value and about 1/3 is gold, just to have a basic idea. So with these drill holes that we're stepping 200 and then 400 meters on one side out, you're going to start seeing in the order of 600 meters of long strike. our geophysics that we did on the whole entire property shows us a very interesting anomaly about 3 kilometers in diameter, subcircular. Okay, so we really believe that this can grow significantly. Now, what will it cost? Oh, it'll cost porphyry type money. It's going to take it to measured and indicated, or just indicated or reserve, and further indicated, at least indicated, might be 70 holes.
What, of around the similar sort of depths, 2,000?
Yeah, in many other directions, right? And maybe some, but let's say in total. So think about at least another 70 million, maybe more. Okay, just to get the whole idea. So we're just on the beginning of finding this monster or this giant. So these drill holes are what we expect to have now is going to be, is it there? Is it showing the tail of the elephant? Is it showing, the trunk or whatever? And now we got to go after it. So I think this is really a fundamental drill program. And as you said, we're playing with 3 holes to do that, to try to get a general geometry to convince that this is something big.
Yeah, and so here's the thing: your 40 million market cap just off the back, recent 8.5 million raise, and you're talking about those sorts of numbers. So what you need your shareholders or prospective shareholders to believe is that you can continue to show the scale of the opportunity, capture the value in that, and raise money at higher and higher share price, right? That's what you're going to need to do. So you're a geologist, you've got a team of guys there who, like I said, blue chip, been around the block a bit, but it's a sort of different market at the moment. It's kind of a very strange market where the copper equities haven't reacted to the copper commodity pricing, it seems, yet. Same with gold. And people are a bit nervous about investing, and perhaps they're hoarding cash a little bit, given the geopolitical situation we find ourselves in at the moment. But you've still got to continue to work through that process. So do you think that you're going to be able to be creative with the way that you bring money into the company? Are you looking at royalties and NSRs on this thing? Clearly, you're not going to get any debt in on it, but you might get a strategic partner to come in with you, or is it you're going to have to go out to the market and say equity raises regularly, but we promise we'll deliver more value through the drill bit, so it'll be okay? I mean, what's the message?
We hope that this drill program shows that this is going to have size and grade, and hopefully we'll find something in the high sulfidation area that might be interesting, similar, because this is the same type of geology as Filo. Okay, we're talking about a Filo that has the high sulfidation type mineralization on the top part. It has its porphyry depth. And it's just now that they found their high sulfidation that it really took off, from being hundreds of millions to $1 billion. Well, our 3 drill holes that we've done up to now have already found mineralization. They've been on the highest. The drill holes that we're doing now will probably find similar, hopefully better. So we're looking that this is a similar environment. I don't know the high sulfidation size is a Filo size, but it's there. And we know that the porphyry depth, if you look at the grades in general, are higher than all the average, most of the other porphyries that have been found lately. So I think it's got a real strong story behind it. And I think that with this drill program, we'll come up with the grades and the view that this is something worthwhile investing in. Hopefully our share price will permit us to just go through equity raising. That's what we'd love. We're not thinking on going towards NSR, because there is an NSR to the owners. And a strategic partner is always welcome if it's not a good partner.
Oh, so there's already an NSR on this project?
Yes.
Okay. So
to the owner. Mhm.
to the owner. What's that look like?
2% to the owners, and there's another 0.5% there. And the owners are two Chilean geologists and a 10% Hochschild still owns.
Okay. So the money that was raised in December, what was it raised at?
It was raised at 12.5 cents.
Okay.
And we've been trading quite above that since then, given that the story started to sound, interesting, and people have been backing this story.
Right, and the warrants, yeah. Actually, hang on. I think it was just over 14 cents, but it was. You've also got the warrants at 22, something like that. So the warrants are in the money too. So how much money would the warrants bring in?
Right now, I couldn't tell you exactly, but it should be in the order of. It should be on an average of about 17 cents, 18 cents. So
11 million?
I don't have the exact number.
About 11 million. Yeah, okay. So there's another big chunk of change coming through. Yeah. we'll make sure
on that, Thomas.
We'll make sure people know. I'll speak to Tom afterwards and get that number. But there's a big chunk of change coming through there. So in terms of immediate cash needs, you're kind of good. And the whole period is what? When does this kind of come off? Because again,
actually, the warrants are coming in right now. Since our raise, they've been coming in, and some significant, a little bit pouring in. So it's been quite consistent coming in, okay, at 20 cents, at 30 cents, at different value. But they've been coming in. So we've been gaining a little bit of funds through that. And I think people are just waiting for this program, and probably if it's successful, the warrants are going to just pour in, and it'll bring us in the order of similar to what we raised, about 10 million, 11 million. But I don't know if they'll all come in immediately, because a lot of the warrants are owned also by some part by us and the management group, and also by people who might not want to sell at this time.
Right. Okay. So it sounds like there's funding in place for another five or six holes. I'm just doing some broad maths, and I know you can't comment, but I'm just right. So another 5 or 6 holes on top of the 3 potentially if the warrants come in for you guys. So you've got time to actually drive this up a bit. Okay. So just, I think we probably just should finish on, just be really clear. So the 3 holes are being drilled. When do we get the data? When do you make decisions off the back of that?
That's quite an important question. Each drill hole should take about 2.5 months if all the weather conditions are maintained. We are in the high Cordillera of Chile, which the timing to explore is normally between October and April. Okay, we started our drill program in January. We just finished raising at the end of December, right? So we're already on the short term on our drilling program. We hope to complete this by end of April. So I think our first drill hole might be finished end of March, beginning of April. And then we'll see the second one. The third hole will start hopefully this week. So it might not even reach, and it might reach our end depending on weather. If not, we'll just leave it and cement the bottom and continue on the next season. But I think we're going to have at least 2 complete holes, and hopefully the third one.
But this is by the end of the season. So just remind me when the end of the season is.
End of April, beginning of middle of May. Okay. So then our big issue right now are labs. Labs are taking and offering you results at 70 days. So it's over 2 months after you get the samples into them. We're being very strict in our process, and we're being very technical and very professional with the best standards. We're doing very detailed QA/QC. We're doing geotechnical logging, just because it's going to be a porphyry. We want to understand all our conditions since now, and we're doing a detailed. So that takes a bit of time before we send out our samples. Then all this core has to come down to the town of Vallenar. After it's had a quick log and it's had all the geotechnical part done for core cutting, and then the whole process coming after. So it'll take a bit of time. I think our first results should be coming in a couple of months more, and it'll be trickling in. I think what we'll be showing a lot is based on the first results, we'll show what we have and what the core looks like. Okay, and we'll be showing a lot what we believe looks good without having any grades. And we probably will need to be raising about in May this year.
Okay, fine. And when does next season start, by the way? So
that's what I was going to tell you, because we want to start in October next season. Next season, we want to get 6 to 7 months right away. We're negotiating the camp to stay there and, and not have to mobilize. Just the mobilization of the camp took a month. Okay, so this is kind of situations that we're trying to avoid in the future. So we're trying to let the camp there do some type of acquire it, keep it on site. There's surface owners which we have to negotiate on conditions because we would extend our timing there. So there's a little trickling in that we have to fix up, but I'm sure that won't be any problem.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Like I said, I'm just conscious of time here. PowerPoint says management has 22.1% of this business. Is that up to date? I'm not quite sure where you
that's
are.
out of date. We have about not quite 6%.
6%, right? Up because of the recent raise.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Exactly.
And
our main shareholder is Pierre Lasson with 10%.
He's 10%. Okay. So Palisade, they didn't.
They did not participate this time.
Got it. Okay.
And I don't know if how many shares they have or not.
Okay.
I couldn't tell you the exact percentage they hold right now.
It's going to be 2.5, 3, right? So, okay, that's fantastic. Look, I think I'll leave it there, only because that we've consumed and talked about a lot of things there, Raymond. I like the story. I like some of the parallels you're drawing up. You're drilling. Stay in touch. Let us know how you get on with that drilling, because that could be the difference between this thing moving forward and hopefully raising cheaper money or not. So I'm intrigued. Appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for this interview. And we'll see you on the next one.